What is good, Tsla family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. Talk about the news that came out involving Cathie selling some Tesla shares, and what's going on with Hyundai and Kia as they're adopting Tesla's NACS charger. Before I break things up all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Now, this offer ends in just about 10 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market so far. So, looking at Tesla, was down about 0.43%. We have some very interesting developments. Now, I just want to mention that Tesla does have some bearish signals developing, but nothing is guaranteed because we have some data coming out. So for tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens, we have the non-farm payrolls coming out. We want this to be between 150 and 170,000. We also have the unemployment data coming out. We want this to be around 3.8% or higher. We do not want this to be way too low because it will incentivize the Fed to be more hawkish. We also have the labor force participation rate data and then a couple of other things coming out, which could cause some high volatility and it's going to affect how the market moves. So we'll be watching to see how this affects us. Now, with all of that coming out, it's going to cause a big move for the markets, which I can't really predict. I could give you guys the bullish and bearish cases, and I do want to mention that Tesla has some sell signals developing, so there's an increased probability of downside. But I want to break down the fact that you want to be open-minded, you want to be prepared for anything because you never know what's actually going to happen with 100% certainty. And with this data, I can't really predict it, and that's why I want to be open-minded. So if we're bullish for Tesla, okay, you want to see it break and hold 262.5. If that happens, we could see 265 plus. If we're bearish, you want to see it break below not only 260, but 257.5, which is going to lead to potentially coming all the way down to 254 or below that. Now, I do want to call out the fact that we have two bearish confluences right now. The first one is going to be that we have this large head and shoulders on the 4-hour time frame that could possibly lead to downside, but nothing is guaranteed. Secondly, okay, even though this is just like one factor, the second factor is going to be this. We have this, when I zoom in, we have a bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. So we made this like little pump on Tesla for this liquidity grab. Tesla failed to hold to 262, and this could lead it to start sinking as time goes on because of this bearish divergence and a drop in the RSI. So there's a risk of downside for tomorrow, which could bring Tesla down to about 255, if not 252. So we'll just have to wait and see how this goes and just be open-minded nonetheless. For SPY, it all depends on the data. Bullish data is going to break us above 425 to retest 426.5, which will take us up to 428 if that breaks. If we break down, you want to be watching 422 as major support. If that fails us, then 420 is on the table. We look very indecisive. There's a possible cup and handle technically, so we could get a breakout towards 426, if not 428, and then a rejection. But it all depends on the data, so we'll just have to wait and see. Now, Apple looks a bit more bullish because Apple broke out. And on the daily chart, we have this unfilled gap up here, all the way up to about, I don't think the gap is showing here. I think it's on the 4-hour time frame. There's basically an unfilled gap near 176 somewhere. It's like right here. So we might see this thing attempt to try to get to that gap at 176, but it could reject because we have some tight resistance. There's a cup and handle, so there might be a little pump and then a drop in the markets. I see that as the most probable move. Same thing with the QQQ. We're very indecisive. I mean, if we break 362, we could see this thing pushing for 365. If we break below 358, we could see this thing sink towards 356. If that fails us, it's going to turn bearish. So we're in the middle. We're very tight on the QQQ. We'll have to wait and see. Nvidia looks like it's going to try to push up towards 451, then reject off that and come back down to like back down to the 440s. So we'll look for a little pop and drop on Nvidia. Be very careful with this. And with that said, I think I went over the majority of the tickers out there, at least based off their technicals. Now let's break down Tesla, some other pieces of news that just came out. So I just wanted to briefly go over this. We have some good news, which is very awesome. Basically, Hyundai and Kia have come out and they've adopted Tesla's EV charging tech. That is very good for the next year because Tesla was going to gain more and more control, more revenue, and more companies are incentivized to continue to take on Tesla's NACS charger. Now, as Tesla continues to grow and we start to see more and more improvements, it's very important that we are going to be looking for other improvements to Tesla, and we're going to be watching to see how Tesla kind of like adopts to this. So when we have Hyundai and Kia kind of like joining the crowd, more of these companies joining in means more demand is going to be met for Tesla's chargers, their charging stations. So Tesla has to deal with this by building more and more of these stations across the globe and finding ways to help decrease wait times, because that is a big issue that a lot of people I know talk about. We will see what Tesla does about this, and with them joining, this is still good news for them. But this is the big news on a lot of people's minds. Is Cathie Wood a bear on Tesla? Is something bad about to happen? The answer is nope, not necessarily. Excuse me, sorry guys. Cathie Wood has sold, well, this is like more like ARC, which involves Cathie Wood. They've sold 25 million Tesla shares, despite the fact that we have these buy signals. Now, I just want to mention that it's not the end of the world because, first off, 25 million is not like an insanely high amount. It's not insanely crazy. And they do this all the time for repositioning purposes, for the purpose of like taking money and repositioning it somewhere else, investing into other software companies, which is something that ARC has done. They sold about 97,599 Tesla shares for about $25.5 million on Wednesday, believing this is like based off the closing price of like 261 according to the data. So I don't know for sure, but it's very close to that. But despite that, don't worry, because when you look at ARK or ARKK, they have an 11.3% weight. Tesla makes up an 11.3% weight in their holdings, which is still a very big position. So they're still holding, tons of these Tesla shares worth millions and millions and millions. They also have ARKQ, which has its top holdings also Tesla stock with an 11.64% weight, which is still bullish news. ARKW also sits fourth with a 6.77% weight. So the point is, they're still holding on to the large majority of their shares. Do not let the media kind of like scare you into thinking that, oh, they're giving up on Tesla. Cathie is selling out of Tesla. She doesn't believe in the company. That is not true whatsoever. So do not let this get the best of you. They're still holding a ton of these shares. They're still going to be continuing to hold on to them. And they're still very bullish for the long term, as Cathie Wood has mentioned that she sees Tesla hitting $2,000 a share over the next couple of years. She said within the next 5 years, we could see that. She said before 2027, possibly, and maybe even before 2030. Either way, I mean, time flies, guys. Tesla has so much potential upside to 10x. Elon Musk said the same thing. He said that what Cathie Wood said was accurate in the past. So it's great news for Tesla for the long term. But for the short term, I just want to warn you all to be very careful because of this possible head and shoulders, because of the bearish divergence, and the fact that there is a risk, an increased risk of possible downside. Now, I'm not promising this. I'm not saying with 100% certainty because it depends on data. It depends on what happens with the unemployment numbers. So we'll just have to wait and see. So we'll see how this goes. We'll remain calm, cool, and collected nonetheless. All right, guys. So thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you and peace out.